This is Rabbithutch Punk, and you are listening to Grit City Punk.
Jiggle Down Productions.
Welcome back to Grit City Punk, Tacoma's radio-style underground music and variety show, where we play music and talk to local bands from the Pacific Northwest area. My name's Jeremy, and I'm your host. Today's episode features an interview with local photographer Rabbithutch Punk. We also have another installment of Handbook for the Recently DIY. Rabbithutch stuck around for that discussion as well. Of course, there is new music to talk about, and some upcoming concerts to announce. But first, I think a little recap is necessary. Last week, me and a crew of homies went to the Funhouse in Seattle for a horrorcore show. It was the Evil Across America tour with All Is Lulu, Super Famous Funtime Guys, and Something Out of Nothing. There were some local openers, Concrete, and a few others. It was a killer show. While I was there, I stuck 2 Grit City Punk stickers in or on the venue. If you happen to see both of them, snap a picture, post it on Instagram, and tag me. Anyone who does that will win something. I don't know what you're going to win yet. I'll come up with something. It'll be fun. Show me the pics. It was announced last week that Hot Stepmom is parting ways with their lead guitar player. This will not, however, affect any upcoming shows, they've said. I talked to Anna from Hot Stepmom a few weeks ago, and that interview will be on my next episode, so look out for that. Stargazy Pie and Kapala played a show at Tim's Tavern Friday with touring bands Enemy of Fate and Dreadlight. Joey was there and took some amazing pictures. It looked like an incredible show. The Rat Utopia Experiment CDs are out, and they look amazing. A lot of cool details in the packaging. The Rats also played at Cal Anderson Skate Park on Friday with Sunbather Die, Blind Heresy, and Paganoid.
Hey yo, it's Sam Swindle, aka Pacific Northwest Barbie, and I'm gonna give y'all a little scene report of the local show that just happened on April 11th at Cal Anderson Skate Park. It was such an incredible show with 6 sets by the Rat Utopia Experiment, Blind Heresy, Sunbather Die, and Paganoid. The energy was so good, the music was so loud, and I was dancing hard. The bands played great and put on such a good show. Everyone was having such a great time, and oh my gosh, the photographers popped off. They did so good. The photos look so great. Shout out to all of you guys. Oh my goodness. I do think it's really important, though, to talk about some of the problems with last night's show. Like, to start off, it was an all-ages event, and there was so much alcohol and drugs there. People are starting to treat shows like they're parties, but come on, guys, they are not the same thing. The pit is not the place for cigarettes and other things like that. I know someone got burnt by a cigarette in the pit at the show, and a bunch of people were tripping over alcohol cans and things like that. Have some respect for the people around you, especially at an all-ages show. The littering was also absolutely horrible, and the aftermath was horrific. Throw your trash in the garbage, people. There was literally trash cans not far from where a lot of the litter was and where the show was. Like, we need to start having some more respect for our public spaces. Shows could start getting shut down or worse, banned because of dumb behavior like this. Please remember to respect the space, respect the people around you, and respect the bands. But overall, it was a super fun show, a really memorable experience, and once again, all the bands played fantastic and put on such a killer show.
The show looked absolutely insane. I want to see this kind of thing happen in Tacoma. But what I don't want to see is all the trash left behind. Come on, folks, don't be assholes. Respect the venue. I don't care if it's a bar, or house, or a park. Throw away your fucking garbage. This just looks bad on the bands, the promoters, and really the entire scene. It's only going to make it harder to put on these kinds of shows. With the political and social climate the way it is right now, we don't need any extra heat on the punk and hardcore communities. Do your part. Now let's talk about some new music. Quite a bit of music came out in the last couple of weeks. I'm super pumped about it. Let's just roll into it. The first one is from a band called Liability. They've been around for a little while. This is their first official single. It's called Big Heavy, and I'll tell you what, that's an appropriate title. This song fucking rules. It's just good old-fashioned, just grimy, street punk, fuck you kind of attitude. This is good stuff. Take a listen. Hell yeah. Can't wait to hear more from them. Next up, the new EP from Swamp Wife called Your Love Is All I Know. Couple singles dropped over the last few weeks. The EP is officially out, and man, I love this EP. It has such big Sonic Youth vibes, like I'm talking like Washing Machine era, weird melodic guitar sounds, kind of discordant, killer vocals. The whole thing somehow simultaneously manages to sound like you're screaming into the abyss, and yet it feels like a warm welcome hug from an old friend. It's cool. I really dig it. Check it out. This is a song called Got Caught. Yeah, that EP is really good. Go check it out. There are cassettes available. There have been some limited edition handmade CDs available. If you see them at a show, get whatever merch you can because they're awesome. The second single from Bad Optic's new album called The Bounded World just released. The single is called The Bounded World. Check it out.
Erase the lines between me and extinction. Satan awaits me, dressed in jeans and a blazer, laughing like a child.
Banded to a burning building, melted to his frame. The corpse of Capitol is crying out forgotten names. Graham Pekau and Nevis eyes with hands its head in shame. Mea culpa, as his flesh becomes a stain. Burning bright and singing proud, the technocrats gather around to bid farewell. They're burning bold and pray one day to be turned back into people. Death is not the end, it's somewhere through Victoria is smiling man and ties the eschaton. Work is over, the deep done, all people have been saved from the drudgery of toil, from the birth until the grave. All across the world we find new heavens overlaid. Automated freedom is the gift that they have gave. But wait, they own the roads, they own the homes, they own the means, they own the modes. The channel's dead, no communication. They gave you life, and they can't take it back in an instant. Death is not the end, it's somewhere through Victoria is smiling. Pull yourself up from the grave and see the world your children made. Remain in ties the eschaton. Open the doors to Babylon.
Yeah, this is another one that I'm really excited about. Sounds really cool. Kind of a dancey, funky, thrashy kind of thing. Really digging that. The Indicted, we talked about them an episode or two ago. They dropped a single, and they just dropped another one a few days ago called Slumlord City.
Flats so small, smells like shit. Slumlord City, they get rich. Rats in the hallway, roaches in my room. Blood on the pavement, gangs on the block. Two bullets to the walls cry. Pipe to his burst and blood all the time. Slumlord City, answer your phone. Slumlord City, feel it all alone. Slumlord City, time paid ring. Slumlord City, going to the dead. Landlords and companies make lots of money off of me. Raise the rent every year, leave me dry, then they don't care. Work 3 jobs, can't pay bills, always stuck in living hell. Slumlord City, answer your phone. Slumlord
Man, this song kicks ass. They actually just dropped another single as I was putting this episode together. I might talk about it next week. These guys are just dropping shit. Raccoon Taxonomy has released what may be their final project. It is a short full length, but a full length nonetheless. It is called Rotten Sweet Fruits and Vegetables. I would love to play the last song, which is just an absolute banger. It's called Adam Sandler Wedding Singer, but I'm not going to play that one for you because I don't think you deserve it if you haven't heard all the previous songs first to really earn it. So instead, I'll just play Death Sentence.
Ain't it cool how time works? 1 second, I'm at a show, surrounded by all of my best friends. The next second, I'm alone in my room, wallowing in my sadness, just waiting for a second to pass. Woo! And by then, I'll be 40, at a job I hate, with my wife and kids at home who I love. Maybe Katie or Jeff, magnificent male or M, or whatever my white compromises with me.
Yeah, so that album is out everywhere now. Go check it out. The band seems to be on a hiatus. We're not going to be hearing from the band for a while, if ever again, so enjoy this. And Seattle band Tongues has released the first single off of their upcoming album. The single is called Nobody, and it is intense. Vocalist Dylan has stated that it really deals with the kind of a little bit dysmorphia, a little bit trauma, and the dichotomy of being female and being both desired and disrespected by the patriarchy, and just kind of dealing with the male gaze and the idea that you have to look pretty and also be kind of dumb. And it's a great feminist banger. I'm in love with this song. I cannot stop repeating it.
You can have it just in my mind. I know
body ain't nobody of mine. Oh, this body ain't nobody of mine.
The Keiths from Portland, Oregon have an album that's been out since like January on Bandcamp. It's called Hate Being Human. It is out now on, I think, every streaming platform. It wasn't on Apple last I checked, but it is on Spotify. Go check them out. Here is a song called Reason to Rejoice.
friend you choose.
And I also need to add that Star Matriarch single Interchangeable, you heard it premiered here last episode. It's out on streaming platforms now and on Bandcamp. Go check it out. Go to the Bandcamp page, support the artist. Tongue's album, or the Tongue single, excuse me, is on Bandcamp as well. So is The Bounded World from Bad Optics, and Your Love Is All I Know from Swamp Wife. Hit up Bandcamp, check out all those artists. Buy the download, even if you don't listen to the download. Buy it, support them any way you can. Buy some merch if you can get it. What's your name and what do you do?
I'm William, aka Rabbithutch Punk. I am a photographer for the local music scene, as well as director of photography for a new music studio in Redmond called Northwest Live.
Why do you do it? What's your motivation?
My motivation more so is just documenting the scene. I've got a lot of love for music history, but not in like the universal university collegiate level, but in the hard, gritty, actual down home level. So I want to make sure that no music is forgotten, no band is forgotten, that it's all recorded, all documented.
So if that tree falls, you're recording it so everybody can hear it later.
Absolutely.
So what does punk mean to you?
Oh, I was waiting for this question. So I have a very
You might be the first person
different-
that's actually prepared for it.
So I have a very different outlook to it than a lot of other people. So, I mean, there's been a couple of touching on it that punk is a mindset, but it's also not a strict one-way route. The civil rights movement was punk. Rosa Parks was punk. The people that hid Jews in World War II were punk. Fighting against whatever the mainstream authoritarian narrative is punk. I even look at the fact that like rap and hip hop are the other side of the alternative coin. They're also punk.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't look at it like that, and I may get flack.
That's
for
funny
it.
you say that because I did an interview recently and we came to that same conclusion. So,
All right, cool. Not the only one. All right.
yeah, no, you're not far off.
No, it's just fighting whatever the authoritarian mainstream narrative is. Giving food to the homeless is punk. You know, food's not bombs is a great thing. We used to have a chapter of that up here, but they've long stopped existing, which is a bit of a bummer. But I wish we could get that back up again.
So, as you were saying, punk and hip hop share the same basic root.
Absolutely. Absolutely, I do believe they do.
I would say that Woody Guthrie was the first punk of the 20th century.
Yeah. Absolutely. Woody Guthrie, Johnny Cash, very punk.
Yeah.
Very punk.
Yeah. If they were starting out in the 70s or 80s, they wouldn't have been much different than, say, Jello or Henry Rollins.
No, not at all. Absolutely not. So it's a mindset, and it's not necessarily music. Like, if we look at one of the original definitions for it, it is a low-down, detested human being.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the definitions of punk. That's what a lot of punks in the, late 60s, starting into the 70s, out of the hippie movement, they were, being treated that way, being called punks. So it's like, all right, fine. That's what we are. We're punk.
Yep. They're the undesirables, the street kids that nobody wants.
Absolutely. So when that is just constantly bombarded at you, you're going to want to fight against that, which is why I do believe that rap and hip hop are also punk.
Mm-hmm.
And that mindset. Like, oh, you expect so little of us. Well, fuck you. Let's see what we got.
Yeah. And really if you trace back the origins of punk, at least in the UK, which I think probably has stronger roots, more original roots than America for punk music and the punk scene as we know it. And that was all started by Jamaican immigrants.
Yeah.
It was them and the white kids that lived in the ghetto with them, and they shared their cultures and mashed together and came up with ska and punk.
Yeah, no, it's, immigrants have a lot of push and shaping of our musical culture as we know it, and a lot more than we give
Hmm.
credit where it's due.
Oh yeah. It basically comes down to who is the most oppressed or who is the most downtrodden or least respected in a society, and that's where you're going to find most of the best art.
Oh, absolutely. Art comes from suffering, unfortunately.
Mhm. So, how long have you been into photography in general?
In general, God, when did Pokemon Snap originally come out on the Nintendo 64? Because that's
If that was Nintendo 64, that would have been late 90s.
yeah, probably about 90. I would want to say like 96, 97. Um, and as strange as it may sound, that is what got me into photography.
Uh,
Um, Played around with it for a little bit, just playing that game, obviously.
mhm.
Didn't get my hands on a good DSLR camera until I was in junior high. Um, so I had my first Nikon in 7th grade when I started to live with my dad, because he knew that I had an interest in photography. So he just bought me whatever it was I wanted. So I was very privileged in that way.
Mhm.
Um, Played with that camera all throughout junior high into high school, where I took my first photography class, and the teacher was like, "Oh, that is way too advanced for you. You need to use this Canon point and shoot." And I'm like, "I'm okay. I've done this for a while."
So, how did you get into live music photography?
So for that, I started listening to another podcast. It's called No Dogs in Space. It is a
Hmm.
music history podcast from the last podcast on the Left Network. Um,
Yes.
Absolutely love it. And, there's a lot of it where they were saying it's like, oh, we only have like, songs from this band because someone decided to sneak a tape recorder into a show and then they were able to record it. So that's why we have this, Bad Brains set because someone brought it
Yeah.
in. And it's like, well, shit, I could do that. I could absolutely do that. So I hopped on Facebook, searched music events near me, found a show at the Plaid Pig that was a punk show, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go. Went to my Instagram, hit up the band, sent them a message if they asking if they would mind if I took their picture, and that was it. That was the start. That was April 2023.
All right. So, we're looking at 2 years
Yeah.
now. The scene that existed in Seattle and Tacoma and Olympia in the 80s going into early 90s, most of what's documented and most of what we know comes from people like Charles Peterson, who was there at, every show he could possibly be at just as a fan, just some punk kid with a camera, just taking pictures. And, it's history now, and it's valuable history. So, yeah, don't ever think for a second that the work you're doing is not valuable, because I guarantee you it is.
It's the reason I do it.
So, what's your favorite type of content to photograph?
Oh God, I love the hardcore shows. Um, but my favorite is definitely going to be a house show.
Okay.
A house show is just so much more fun. It's so much more tight.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I've got a great photo as part of my computer background, which has a bass player in the stairwell of a guy's house, one leg on the wall, the other leg on the banister, and he's just playing. Like, it's amazing to be able to shoot in a house where people are that dynamic and just messing some dude's house up.
Yeah, and there's
It's
no
great.
there's no stage, there's no barrier. It's just the people, the crowd is right there, and the band is right there. There's nothing separating them.
It does sometimes make it a little hard to get photos that I would like to get,
Yeah, I'm sure.
but I then end up getting photos that are better anyway.
Yeah, a lot of times it's more about what's in the moment. And if you can get a good shot of what's in the moment, sometimes that's better than something that is really more methodical or planned out.
Yeah. Like when I shoot at real art, it's a lot easier to get the shots that I want to get.
Mm-hmm.
The shots of the drummer, the shots of, whatever it is that I need. It's a lot easier because it's easy enough to just go around back and pop up from behind and take pictures. But at a house show, it kind of challenges you. You're not necessarily able to get in as close as you want to get.
Yeah, or you're too close.
Yeah.
So what kind of gear do you shoot with? What's your main rollout?
My main rollout is a Nikon Z50 with its kit lenses. I got the dual kit, so it's a 16 to 50 pancake lens, and I believe a 35 to 250 telescopic lens. And occasionally I'll run a little speed light flash depending on the venue, which that's actually a fairly recent addition to the kit. Mm-hmm. Other than that, it's just a $35 LED multi-effect light that I got off of Amazon to get the darker corners of venues.
Yeah, sometimes those, especially I know with real art, it's depending on what color the stage lights are. Sometimes it's just so hard to get a clearly lit picture. So you just have
especially for anyone who's on stage right.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have just the one body and two lenses typically then?
Yep. That's all I have.
Cool. And you also, I know at Real Art you do, I assume you do elsewhere too, have a tripod with a video recorder?
I do have that. I stopped doing the full live sets. I want to say sometime around early 2024. Mm-hmm. It might have even been earlier than that. But the combination of working my regular job and then having to be there from the very start to the very end of the shows started to really wear on me.
Yeah.
Especially after having recorded 119 live sets. Mm-hmm. Like it got really tiring.
Yeah.
So I've kind of put that on the back burner. Like, it's still there if people would want me to record a full live set, but it's not something I'm going to bring with me every time.
Understandable. So do you think that taking photos of young and up-and-coming bands helps to boost their confidence? And how do you see your role
I think so.
in the service that you provide? Because you're not just taking pictures for just your own sake. Like, you're full on sharing them with the bands and sharing them with the venues. And it's a lot. There's a lot of different methodologies to live photography, whether or not they charge, whether or not they do it for themselves in their own outlet, or if they provide just for the bands. So what's your approach to that and why?
My approach has always been of like, I'm not going to charge for this because I know that a lot of these bands don't have the money to charge to pay a photographer. That has changed recently, and I've switched it to if you request me to come out to cover a show, then I'll charge, but it's all location based. So, Tacoma's $60, Seattle is $80, and Everett and above is $160. Mm-hmm. So I keep it extremely reasonable because I have a day job.
Yeah.
I'm not looking to, milk these bands. That's not why I do it. But no, I hit the bands up, ask if they want photos. They say yes. Cool. I'll give them a Google Drive link that they are free to use those photos in whichever way they want, whether it's for social media content, posters, anything. I make it clear that they are free to use it however they wish. I just want to be tagged in it, because the more people that see me means the more people see all of the other bands that I've covered.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win. The more eyes that get on a band that I've covered, the more eyes get on me. That means the more eyes get on everybody else.
Yep. When the tide rises, all the ships come up.
Yes, a tide raises all ships.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, you just said it better than me.
So when it comes, so when it comes to doing the photos, no, I pretty much do it for free, like 90% of the time. The bands always get their stuff pretty much same day, unless they specifically request like the raws, because then I have to go home and pull that. But Nikon's current ecosystem is great. They have an app called SnapBridge, so it lets the photos go right from the camera to my phone, and then I can just send them and post them immediately. So there's a very quick turnaround. There's no waiting. I don't edit. It's not that I can't edit. I just choose not to because I like getting the shot in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of just the methodology for it, is just getting it to them as quick as possible and knowing and letting them know that, hey, use it however you want.
Yeah.
And I do think it helps. I really do. Especially the collaboration feature on Instagram is great because I can they don't even have to sort through the photos. It's just like, hey, I really like these 10 or whatever. Well, at the time it was 10, but now you can add some more, which is nice.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, I really like these 10 shots. Oh, invite this band to collaborate. If they accept that collaboration invite, it goes onto their Instagram. They don't even have to do anything but click an accept button in their messages. And then all of their fans can see those photos. They can see the clips that I take. Like, they don't even have to do anything.
Yep. So do you have any words of advice for kids looking to get into photography, concert photography specifically?
Yeah. Just message the bands first. Always ask if because that way it opens that line of communication. And you can ask if anyone has any light sensitivity, so you know whether or not you should use flash or if you should use some sort of additional lighting in order to get your shots.
That's a good call. I hadn't even considered that.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I take into consideration and is something that I ask every time. The other thing to consider, too, is that, you're probably not going to make any money off of it. I figured that out at 18 when I was thinking about going to an art institute for photography. I'm like, man, there's really no money in this.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be passion driven. Don't think of it as a way to make a quick buck, because then you're just going to drop it pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
And results are going to take a while. Like, if you've never, done any photography in low light before, it's going to be a ridiculous learning curve. They're not going to look that great. You're going to struggle, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Failing is how we learn. And honestly, there's a lot of photos that I have that I like that are blurry. Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah. Sometimes blurry pictures are fine. I mean, it's just, it's all about the moment. And, if you get a good picture, there's feeling, there's emotion, there's, the energy from the room hypothetically should be captured in your image. And so whether or not the image is in focus, or if it's double exposed, or if it's, the lighting is not perfect, if it captures the feeling that was in the room, then it's a win and it's a great photo.
Yep. It's your job as a photographer is to capture the moment.
Handbook for the recently
I don't know where it came from. Look at that publisher.
Grit City Punk.
Just as a disclosure here, we're not experts. I'm not an expert on anything. I don't think you're an expert on anything we're talking about here.
No, not even close.
No, but everybody can learn something from somebody. So in our experience, this is what we have. Today's subject is the link in the bio. And that is something that, as a person who devotes his free time and my creative outlet, just like you, in a different way though, into supporting the scene, spreading word about the scene, supporting bands, promoting bands.
Right.
Now, you mentioned the collab feature on Instagram. Great feature. It's just it gets your band in front of more eyes. But the problem is, if you don't have that setting,
exactly.
Yeah, there's a setting in your Instagram account that says whether or not you will accept being tagged by people that you don't follow. Now, to throw an even bigger monkey wrench in that, just recently, Instagram has instituted an even tougher firewall there for accounts owned by anybody under the age of 18, which in our line of work here, that's a lot of bands.
Oh, great. That's something new I have to look out to.
Yeah. So the default on Instagram is, no tagging from people that you don't follow. So that's a simple thing, but probably a lot of people just aren't really aware of it. So if you have a band and you have an Instagram, make sure you go through your features, your settings, and make sure that is turned on, that you can be tagged by other people.
Absolutely.
That's how photographers can expose you. That's how podcasters, bloggers, they
venues.
Can get your venues. When other bands or venues put out a flyer, if your band can't be tagged, it's a dead link on the flyer, which is disappointing.
It also follows too with like the tagging also correlates to messaging. I've ran into a lot of bands.
Yeah.
Because it's a default where you can only message this band if they follow you first. And that's a huge
Otherwise it goes into their requests, which is not something that a lot of people look at.
I've ran into it where I can't even send a message, period.
Oh.
Like, it literally says that you cannot message this band unless they follow you first. Try following them. It may help. So, luckily I get to venues early, so I'm able to communicate this to those bands, and they eventually change it. Mm-hmm. But, if no one tells these bands that, they're missing out on shows. They're missing out on other bands to play with, like... Mm-hmm. Because I don't know personally if someone, like, say band A wants band C to play at their show, they go to message them, and it's that, they have to follow you first. I don't really know who's going to hit follow and then just sit and wait and hope that band follows them back in order to send the message. You're just going to skip over that person and go to someone else.
Yeah.
So that's another thing to look at too, is not just the tagging and the mentions, but also the messages and story replies and stuff like that. And thankfully that's just in one area, settings and activity. And a lot of people don't pay attention to it.
Yeah. As an alternative though, because in some instances, people might not want to get DMs from strangers, and that's totally understandable, especially
absolutely
young people, especially young girls. They're not going to want to get DMs from every Tom, Dick, or Harry that sees them on Instagram and wants to be a creep, and that's totally understandable.
And
but the workaround for that is, or maybe they're underage and their parents are like, we're monitoring your social media, also understandable. Mm-hmm. Workaround for that: put an email address on your profile page.
Yes.
So if you don't want to take DMs, then just open up an email page. It can be your parents' email. It could be your own email. It could be, whatever. Just a way that somebody can get a hold of you if they want to book you for a gig, if they want to share pictures of your band online, what have you. If somebody like me wants to approach you for an interview.
Yeah, whatever it could be. Just some way to be contacted.
So another thing kind of going along with that is in your bio on social media pages. I know Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Blue Sky, whatever else there is. In your profile, you can put a link.
Mm-hmm.
At least one, sometimes multiple links. However, you don't know how many times I'm looking at a flyer, I get a link to the Instagram. Cool. Right there. Here's the band. Where's their music?
Yeah.
If it's not linked directly on your profile page,
then you have to go searching for it.
Yeah, and those algorithms on Apple Music and Spotify are not user-friendly.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Fully aware of
If
that.
you're looking for anybody that has less than like 1,000 listeners, yeah, you're just throwing a dart at the wall because you're going to get every combination of words other than the words that you specifically type in. And yeah, there's been times where I just can't even find the music at all. I'm just like, well, sorry, you know?
I don't run into that too much anymore because I started keeping a list of all of the bands that I cover.
Mm-hmm.
And not only have I done that, but I've also made a playlist on Spotify as well of all of the local bands that I've covered.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got something like 700 songs. It's like 35 hours of music.
Yeah.
But I'm able to find local music fairly easily now when I search. But when I first started doing that, it was pretty much impossible.
Yeah.
If they didn't have a link to their music in their profile.
Yeah. Let's say you're a kid who could, looking at a show flyer, you're like, damn, that sounds like a cool band. Or you see a video of a band online, you're like, hey, this looks really cool. I want to check out their music. Go to their bio, no link. It's you're doing yourself an extreme disservice by not having that link on there. Here's a catch though. Not everybody uses Spotify, or not everybody uses Apple Music. So you need multiple links.
Absolutely.
Linktree.
And that's where the Linktree comes in.
Yes.
Yep.
For people maybe not familiar with Linktree, tell them what it is.
To my understanding, I don't necessarily use it either because I don't have much that I have to link to, but it is just a way to consolidate multiple links into a nice little menu package with one solid link. So you put one link in your profile, you open it up, there's your Bandcamp, your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter, your Blue Sky, your whatever it is, your Redbubble, if you guys are selling shirts or whatever. Like, it's all right there. I don't know if it costs anything because I haven't looked into it.
It does not. I actually manage, I think, 4. Yeah. I used to manage 5. Now I manage 4 link trees. And yeah, they're absolutely free. The link is a little wonky, the URL. It's linkter.ee/your name. But it's cool. Your name is right there. It could, as long as it's not taken, it can be anything you want. I have one for Grit City Punk. It's just Linktree/Grit City Punk. I have one for miscellaneous links. It's Linktree/Jiggles. Really easy. It's free. They have a lot of neat features on there. If you put in a link to an album on Spotify, there's a button you can push on there that will find that album on every other platform and bring it all together into a drop-down menu. And it even pulls Bandcamp, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah. Not many people like to pull Bandcamp. Local bands utilize Bandcamp.
Yes.
Please. You don't make much money out of Spotify or Apple Music. It's great to get your music out there, but utilize Bandcamp. Let people pay you for what you do.
Correct. And it's also a lot easier to find. Like, their search engine is just a straight up regular old search engine with no algorithms. So it's a lot easier to find people. Yeah, it's really nice. But we did a whole episode on Bandcamp. You can go back to episode maybe 6, maybe 5. Not sure. Look back, you'll find it. All your links can be, it's basically like, it's a landing page for a website. And you don't have to pay any money for it. You could even put a picture on there, a picture of your band. You could have a YouTube video that plays while you're looking at the Linktree page, which is pretty neat. There's actually a donate button on there that you can link to your PayPal. They do take out a kind of a big percentage, but you can work around that too if you just make one of the links to your PayPal. Lots of cool things. You could put links to tickets for your upcoming concerts. Lots of great things you could do with a link tree, and you can put that on everything. So any social media that you have should be on that link tree. Any platform where your music is available, be it SoundCloud, Bandcamp, Apple, YouTube, whatever, those should all be on the link tree. And that link tree should be on everything that you can put it on. You can put it on your YouTube page. You can put it on your Spotify page. You can put it on your Instagram, all the other shit that we said. Another thing is you can get a Here Now release page from, if you use CD Baby to distribute your music. They have a product called Here Now that basically makes a website for you that just promotes your music. You can just promotes like a specific release, and you can have that set up before your album releases. So you could have a pre-save or, pre-download or whatever they call it, link on there. And once your music is up and available everywhere, it'll have every platform linked. It'll show the track listing. You could have, a quick little summary or bio of your band or the album, whatever. CD Baby offers that for $2.95 a month or $24 per year. You can probably get it even if you don't use CD Baby, but they have a link directly on their page as well. And I'm about to get really deep in the woods here. Your artist profile pages on Apple and Spotify. I'm not sure if everybody knows this, but you can go in there and you can edit and change a lot of things on how your artist page looks on those platforms.
And please fill out your artist page.
Yeah.
Because there's so many times I've ran into it where it's just like, I think this is the right band that I have covered, but there's also 2 other profiles with this same thing.
With the same name. Yeah. Put a picture.
Just fill out your about. Yeah.
Yeah. Apple doesn't. They have like a question and answer kind of thing that you can fill out and it'll go at the bottom. It's pretty cheesy. So I don't really recommend that. Spotify is better with that. You could actually put up a whole bio on there, which is cool. But, put up some kind of picture, if you can put in where you're from, what year your band started, that's all good stuff to put in there if you can. The most important thing for that is if you have a band with a name that happens to be the same as a different band with the same name, it's very likely your albums are going to get pooled into one artist page. Have you ever run into that?
I haven't. I've come to 2 different accounts of different bands with the same name. And I have to figure out who is who.
Right.
And then I found out, actually this band that I covered doesn't even have music on Spotify. It's only on Bandcamp. So these 2 bands are 2 other bands with the exact same name as the band I just covered.
Yeah. Unless you have a really, really, really unique name, you're gonna run into this problem. But there's a trick to it though. If you go into just Google Apple for artists or Apple Music for artists, you claim you put in your artist name or band name, and you claim that. And then if there's any other albums or singles on there that aren't yours, you can just say, hey, separate these. Or sometimes there's 2 artists with similar names and they want to group them together, and you can go in and you can say, no, this is me, this is me, this is not me. And then that will split them into different artists, even though they have the same name.
Well, that's good information. I didn't even know that.
Yeah. I use CD Baby for releasing my music. I think most people probably use DistroKid. That seems to be a little bit more popular. I don't know the inner workings of their platform, but I know with CD Baby, like you could put in a lot of metadata. You get your writing credits, you get your production credits, you get obviously the song title, the album, the year, all that basic metadata. But what they don't do for you is your profile page on the individual music platforms. So that's where you got to go in, and you have to do it manually. And you might have to go in there every time you release something and just make it a habit. When you release something, check on it, check on it as soon as it releases, check on it like a week later, and just make sure that there's no misspellings, make sure that there's not a different artist attributed to it. I had one time with one of my songs that I put up, I looked at the credits on it, and it was credited to some, I don't even know who it was, just some random name was credited as the writer. And I had to file a complaint. Took a few weeks. They got it fixed and everything. But, those things happen. Definitely, anytime you're releasing music, you need to go to Spotify for artists and you need to go to Apple for artists every so often, especially when you release stuff, and just check and make sure everything's right. And if it's not right, especially if you have like a misspelling, good luck. Like, it takes so long.
Speaking from experience on that one.
Yeah, it takes so long for them to fix something that you messed up. If you uploaded the wrong file and it sounds like crap and you're like, oh no, it's already out there, just to get it pulled down before you can put up a new one takes months. So really make sure that everything is 100% cool and correct before you submit it. And also know that no distribution company will automatically distribute to Bandcamp. And I think we went over that in the Bandcamp episode, but that's something that you have to manually do.
Definitely not my little area of expertise, but having followed you for a while, and I'm glad that you have that down.
Yeah, well, as I stated earlier, not an expert, but I have some learned experience here. Mostly from mistakes made, which is, that's the best way to learn.
Oh, yeah. I've ran into a few times where I've figured I have the photos all uploaded, delete them from my phone, and then I go to open the Google Drive link, and none of them uploaded. So I have to go pull them and do a recovery in order to get them back in there. So that's one of those things that I now wait until the Google Drive is fully uploaded before I delete the photos.
Yeah.
Because I've had that happen a couple of times.
Nothing worse than losing an entire night of work.
Thankfully, no band has ever gone without actually having their photos. I've never had that happen yet, thankfully.
That's good. So I guess to wrap this up, the moral of the story is, if there is a social media platform, you should have a profile on it if you're able to. If there is a music streaming platform, you should have your music available there, and they should all be linked together on a link tree or a website. I mean, some bands have beautiful websites. It costs money, but if you have the money to throw at it, do it, because then you can do so much more. You can put pictures up there, you can put videos, but at the very least, open up a link tree and just put everything on there and throw that one link on everything that you can. You can even get a QR code made for that link tree and slap it on flyers, slap it on business cards. I've seen bands with business cards with a QR code on
band with a business card.
Hell yeah. And I'm going to shout him out because he was on the podcast. That was Steve from RC Cars on Mars. He had business cards with their QR code, and then of course, the website and all that stuff too. But very professional, very good. And we kind of went through this on the Bandcamp episode too, where we started leaning a lot into the money aspect of it and the professionalism of it. I want to be clear that doesn't necessarily have to be important to you. It's totally okay to not make any money at all. Even if you don't want to make money at all, it's totally up to you. Whether you want to run your band as a business and support itself through your work, or if you just are playing in a garage for fun and putting out silly little singles online for your friends to listen to. Either way, if you are a working musician, if you want to get your music out there and you want to be playing shows and be an active band in a scene, there's a lot of legwork that you have to do. And you have to think about, you don't have to, but you should think about making it at least operate somewhat like a business where you're conscious of how much you're putting into it versus how much you're getting out of it. Being in a band costs a lot of money. Driving to shows costs money. Buying equipment costs money. Recording music, putting it out, it all costs a lot of money. In a perfect world, it would be your job. but that world hardly exists. So the best you can do is try to get some kind of monetary compensation for the money that you're putting in to it, just so that you're not going broke doing the thing that you love to do.
Absolutely.
The point here with what we're doing and what we're talking about here, and the fact that we're talking on this podcast, where we're talking about you taking pictures of bands and me interviewing bands, and we're talking about the scene, we want this scene to thrive.
Absolutely.
We want the kids to have fun, damn it. All ages clubs are so important for culture, for youth. Anything that you can do, whether you're a fan, just a casual spectator, whether you're a booker, a venue owner, whether you're in a band, you're a photographer, you're, a podcaster or a blogger, be passionate about it and do as many favors for the people at the other end of what you're doing as you can, because it goes a long way and it will be returned in spades.
100,000%, man. Absolutely. I've gotten so many great opportunities because of the way that I operate doing photography. Getting to go to the green room at Neptune Theater and getting a photo pass for that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know King Youngblood. Because of, offering to do photos for free.
That's something we didn't even touch on. The majority of what we deal with is dive bars and all ages clubs, but a lot of venues will require you to get a photographer pass or a press pass.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about that.
So the couple of times that I've had that happen, once was Neptune Theater with Alex Vile, Love So Deep, and King Youngblood, and one other, I believe it was Muneka. Great show. First time I was there, though, felt a little out of place. If you know me and how I dress when I go to shows, pink battle vest, pink pants,
That's how we know
really
it's
out
you.
of place. Felt really out of place up there. But because I knew Cameron, lead singer and guitarist, founder of King Youngblood, he was able to hook me up with the photo pass. The other time I did it, it was at the Crocodile in Seattle. It was Sloth Rust and Weekend Friends. And I did my normal thing. I just reached out to the bands. Weekend Friends got back to me. They said that they were happy for me to take their photos. And I just had to show that to the door security. And he went and grabbed like their manager or whatever and got me a photo pass.
Nice.
I know that sometimes you have to like reach out to like the venue booker or a band manager, but I haven't had to deal with that. Thankfully,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I like to talk to the people who are actually doing the music more so than whoever runs the club or
right.
I don't know. It's their music. They should have more of a say in what's happening. It's their image. They should have the say in what's happening.
Right.
So
the venue's just making money. So
yeah. A venue might have a rule that says no professional photography equipment, but if the band wants someone to take photos, then F whatever it is that the venue says. They're going to bring someone in to take photos.
Right.
Like it is what it is.
Yep.
But always shoot your shot if you can. Right now I've got an arrow in the air to photograph Save Ferris in June.
Oh, wow.
Because they're playing with Mr. Blank. Yeah. I believe it's at the Nectar Lounge in Seattle.
Okay.
They're playing with Mr. Blank.
Nice.
So I've shot my shot to maybe get to do photos of Save Ferris, which would be phenomenal.
That would be rad, yeah. Hell yeah. Well, here's to hoping that pans out. So, parting words. Shout some people out. I know we've talked about a few bands. When I'm doing these DIY TED Talks, I try not to single out any specific bands for, things that they do or don't do. We're done with that segment. So who do you want to shout out?
Right. Well, I'm going to shout out my guys, MFD. They were the first band that I actually interacted with when I started my journey doing this. So like they're probably one of my number one favorite bands out here. So definitely shout out to them. Shout out to Cameron and King Youngblood, because the music that he is producing right now is absolutely amazing. Shout out to Shane and the Gravel Pit. That was the first house venue that I went to.
Mm-hmm.
As someone who's always wanted to do the quote unquote old school punk stuff and do a show at someone's house. So yeah, shout out to the Gravel Pit. Go and support them if you can. They also have a small little farm, so definitely go support them.
They show up at the Haunted Farmers Market on South Tacoma.
Yeah,
they have a booth
so
there.
Support them if you can. And I'm also definitely going to have to shout out Alex Vile and Jesse Belch for sure. They've been very supportive with me doing the photography stuff. And my last one, and you covered this with their new album drop last episode. Shout out to Los Ocupados. I am essentially their unofficial photographer. They love me so much. I think I have covered them the most out of everybody. I'm a huge fan.
They look like a lot of fun. Yeah,
they are.
Waiting to see them live.
You will love it, especially their cover of Dare to Be Stupid when Tad juggles knives.
Oh, wonderful. It doesn't get much more stupid than that.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah. Okay, so where can people find you if they want to invite you to a show, or if they want to set up a booking for your services?
So, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Blue Sky are all Rabbithutch Punk. You can find me just on any of those services searching Rabbithutch Punk. I have my Facebook linked on my Instagram. YouTube is also Rabbithutch Punk. There's 119 live sets for you to go back and look through and listen to.
I've watched several of them. They're a lot of fun. It's since I can only make it out to maybe one or two shows a month, I watch a lot of shows that I didn't get to go to.
And it's not the best quality, but I wasn't looking for quality. I was looking for, I'm standing in the back and I'm just watching the show. That is what that camera was for.
Yeah, if you could see the whole stage and the camera stays mostly still, that's my favorite kind of live video to watch.
And hit up Northwest Live if you need podcasting, live music, music videos done. We're a pretty new studio, but we're just kind of starting out and we want to get as booked as possible. I need that to explode so I can quit my day job and just focus on the music.
All right, William, thank you so much for joining me on this little adventure side quest here.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me.
There's some really cool upcoming shows I want to talk about. At Real Art on Thursday, April 17th, The Art of Hardcore featuring Apex Predator, Denial of Life, Psycho Frame, End of Days, and Land Lost. Denial of Life will be shooting a music video there as well. That is going to be a really killer show. You should definitely not miss that if you're in Tacoma and can make it for a weeknight. On the same day in Seattle, April 17th, Love So Deep album release party at Baba Yaga featuring King Shime and the Rat Utopia Experiment. That's at Baba Yaga on April 17th. Friday, April 18th at Real Art is Alex Vile with Zaylee Hayes, Blind Heresy, and Slideshow Vision. Saturday, April 19th at Chop Suey, you've got Bad Optics, Tongues, and Power Bleeder. Looking at the following weekend on April 25th, Friday at Slice of Life Pizza in Tacoma is going to be the Rat Utopia Experiment, Sleep Cult from Salt Lake, and Mopsy, also from Salt Lake, with Stormboy. Grit City Punk and Puget Scene Reports will be at that show in full effect. Stop by, pack the house. It's going to be a good show. Saturday, April 25th at Real Art is Chameleons, The Astrotex, Midnight Morning, and Milk Crate. Same day in Seattle in Tim's Tavern, we've got Together in Music Volume 1. Huge 2-stage event here with Total Fucking Bummer, Very Serious, Mopsy, Bugs, Keddy's Resort, Tongues, Bird Teeth, Old Doris, Torch, Truancy, Caps Lock, Sleep Cult, Trash Sound Conglomerate, Well Adjusted, and Shamebanger. And looking forward further than that, we've got Little Fest happening at Real Art the first weekend of May. We'll get into that in the next episode.
Oh, we are Letterbomb. I'm Cal. I'm the drummer, and well, punk means truth, man. It just means like truth to power, being true to yourself, and it means love too.
My name's Landon from Letterbomb, and I think punk is giving a middle finger to the fucking system, and kicking ass and taking names.
That's right.
And my name is Kara. I'm in Letterbomb, and to me, punk just means doing whatever you want to do.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
As always, thank you everybody for listening, for subscribing to the podcast, following me on Instagram, check out the YouTube, tons of live videos on there, playlist, everything is in the link tree in the bio. Please go check out all the bands that I've mentioned or talked to on the show. It's really a two-way street here between media and artists. So go support them all, buy their merch, stream their music, go see their shows. If you want to contact me, questions, comments, suggestions, Instagram's the best place to do that. Hit me up. Always interested in feedback. If you've got a good suggestion for a band I should cover, let me know. If you are a band and you want to bring your music to my attention, absolutely do that. And stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to this show. I've got tons of great content coming up. Like I said, I've got Hot Stepmom interview coming up. A few other bands I've already worked with coming up in the very near future. Tons more content. Thank you so much to William, aka Rabbithutch Punk. Thank you to Eric, my hardcore respondent, whom we heard from last episode. We'll probably hear from him again soon. Thank you to all the bands and artists that have collaborated with me. And thank you to Sam for this episode's featured song. It's another from Zucrat. This one is called Bank. So until next time, be good to each other. Respect the venues, respect each other, and I'll see you around.
This has been a Jiggle Down Productions production.
And then you take it to the bank.
And I'm not going to stop the recording because I need you to record an intro stinger.
This is Rabbithutch Punk, and you've been listening to Grit City Punk.
Yeah, but it's going to go at the beginning.
Right. Listening to. All right. This is Rabbithutch Punk, and you are listening to Grit City Punk.